Okay, welcome to AP Statistics. During this video, we're just going to talk about the sort of an overview of what we're going to be doing this year. This is not required. You're not required to take notes on this. All right. So during this video, we're going to identify what individuals and variables are in a data set, and we're also going to classify variables as categorical or quantitative. Okay. So statistics is the science of data, and the data can be taken in mathematics, can also be taken in science, or really any subject matter. In college, most people have to take statistics, whether it's economics or the medical field or sciences, math, what have you. Most people, most fields deal with data and statistics. Data analysis, which we're going to be doing, is we're going to look at processing of organizing, displaying, summarizing, and asking questions about data. So with that, we get individuals taken in data. So those are would be like the people taking the poll, or the animal in the forest, or things like that. The variable would be any characteristic of that individual. And the variables are broken down into two different types of variables. First is the categorical variable. This places an individual into one of the several groups of categories. So this is not something you're going to necessarily measure, but it is just going to be put in a category. On the other hand, there's quantitative, and these are the numerical values for which it makes sense to find, and which makes sense to take the average. We're going to be doing lots of averaging as we go, as you see. Okay, so a variable generally takes on different values. We're interested in how often a variable takes on a value, and so that is called the distribution. So it tells us how often it thinks. So here's some data on the model of cars and the miles per gallon. I don't have any details on where this was taken or how it was taken. The book was written or copyrighted in 2012, so let's pretend that's where it came from. So sometimes we look at the variable of interest, so that we're looking at the miles per gallon. We can take that data and we can analyze it by first looking at a graph, or this type of graph is called a dot plot. You're going to learn how to make that very shortly. Very simplistic way of displaying the data, and this is how we'll start our data analysis. We'll then try to explore the data. So if we take that data, we examine each variable by itself, and then we study the relationships amongst the variables. We can start with a graph, like we just made that dot plot, or we could take the data and we could crunch it through the calculator and get numerical summaries. This is a way we can explore what the data is trying to say. Once we have analyzed the data, then we're going to make some inferences. Oftentimes we take samples of the population. Very seldom do you actually are able to take surveys and such from the entire population. So we're going to collect some data from a sample. And we'll learn how we're going to do that later. We're going to then do our analysis by, and we'll also look at how probability plays with this, and then we're going to make some inferences, and then we can inferences on the population. So because we may not be able to sample, we may not be able to poll the entire population, with a good sample we can actually do some pretty good inferences about the population. Okay, so that's kind of a really quick look at data analysis and how we're going to make sense of it. We looked at individuals, we looked at variables, both categorical and quantitative. We looked at the distribution of the variable that takes place and inferences that we make from the sample about the population. Right after that, right after this slideshow, we then did an activity, and the activity was about hiring discrimination. This is located, the story is located in your book on page 5, and it's about 25 pilots, 15 male and 10 female. They were to become captains, and there were only 8 captain spots. So what happened is they had a lottery, and 8 captains were chosen. 5 of them were female and 3 were male. Well, the males complained because there are more males, but there were more females taken. So what we did is we did a simulation, and we took some beads, 25 beads each, and we pulled 8. One color was male, one color was female. We pulled 8 at a time, and then we counted the female beads to see if we can come up with an inference from this. So here is our data, and you can see that that peaks there at 4, which maybe makes sense because that's half as many as beads were drawn. Although if you could look at the probability. Later on, we're going to look at actual probability of these things and then calculate how sure we are that the data was a good representation. Okay, there are some problems assigned. You can take a look at Schoology for that. All right, thanks for listening.